A bombshell report just revealed who destroyed the Nord Stream pipelines. We're going to take a look at the latest, and we're going to see if it finally puts an end to this mystery once and for all. You're not going to want to miss this. A highly detailed investigative report reveals precisely who ordered and carried out the bombing of the underwater Nord Stream pipelines. Former New York Times reporter and Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Seymour Hersh has published the findings of an investigative report that accuses the United States President Joe Biden of personally overseeing and ordering the destruction of the pipelines. The report actually outlined the details that led up to the attack carried out on September 26th of last year. First, in June of 2022, a special unit of elite U.S. divers planted remote-controlled C4 explosives on the pipelines. Second, on September 26th, a Norwegian surveillance plane dropped a sonar buoy onto the surface of the Baltic Sea. Third, the buoy proceeded to emit a sequence of unique frequency sounds, and finally, those frequencies triggered the C4 sensors and detonated the explosives. Now, it must be noted that this bombshell report, which was published on Hersh's Substack, is ultimately grounded in the eyewitness testimony of an anonymous source. Okay, so we don't know who's leaking here. And anonymous sources, as you know, are highly precarious in terms of their reliability. Again, in fairness, the Russian collusion hoax was literally sustained for years by daily leaks from so-called anonymous sources, right? So that needs to be clear here. That said, the source supposedly has direct knowledge of the operational planning behind the attacks, and that source did confirm that the purpose of the sabotage was to make sure that Germany stayed loyal to NATO's mission to ultimately try to bring an end to the Putin regime in Russia. Now, first and foremost, I think Hersh should be lauded simply for providing the first detailed investigative report on the Nord Stream explosions. Or if you're Karine Jean-Pierre, the Nordstrom's pipelines. The fact that this is the first real investigative piece behind those explosions throws into relief the shameful reality that the legacy media doesn't do investigative reporting anymore. We talked about this in our video yesterday featuring CNN's Don Lemon and his embarrassing meltdown on live TV that he had the other day. There's simply no point to skeptical claims. There is no evidence, when all the while you refuse to so much as look for evidence. It's a willful blindness, and it's a blindness that's being led by the establishment narrative. And no one's buying it anymore. Trust in the legacy media is an all-time low for a reason. Well, actually, for a number of reasons. But one of them is this duplicitous dismissal of any and all evidence that goes against the establishment narrative. All the while they refuse to investigate what's behind that narrative. No investigations, you're just ignoramus. And so at the very least, what we have here from this former New York Times reporter and Pulitzer Prize winner at that is a real investigation, a bona fide investigation into who was responsible for sabotaging the Nord Stream pipelines. But you will notice that the regime robots, the zombies, have a playbook to deal with rogue reporters. Apparently, Seymour Hersh's Wikipedia page already designates him as a kooky conspiracy theorist. I've seen firsthand how Wikipedia editors operate behind the scenes. They took down my Wikipedia page, and in the process of debating it, I witnessed some of the most far-left radical nuts come in and sabotage my page. So that's Wikipedia for you. Even the co-founder of Wikipedia today thinks it's nothing more than left-wing trash at this point. He doesn't trust Wikipedia, and he co-founded it. So I applaud the investigative integrity that we're seeing here with this report, in stark contrast to the paralysis of propaganda that marks our dying legacy media. But in many respects, this report is just icing on the cake of what's already some bombshell evidence that points directly to the Biden administration. This is going to blow your mind. But first, gang, make sure to click on that link below and protect yourself from bumbling Biden's incompetence with the timeless value of gold and silver. As you know, patriots over the centuries have always relied on gold and silver to protect their assets during economic storms. And that is where the amazing patriots over at Goldco come in. If you've got $50,000 or more in an IRA, 401k, or savings account, you need to protect those assets from bumbling Biden's economic insanity with the timeless value of gold and silver. Click on that link below. Talk to our good friends over at Goldco. They want you to succeed so much, gang. They're offering you up to $10,000 in free silver if you open up an account with them. But that is a limited time offer, so don't wait. Click on that link below or visit my special website, turleytalkslikesgold.com. Here's what Joe Biden said back in February before the Russian invasion.
Let me answer the first question first. If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that exactly, since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control?
We will, I promise you, we'll be able to do it.
Now that seems like a pretty explicit admission that as far as the United States is concerned, a Russian invasion of Ukraine and a functioning Nord Stream pipeline will not be allowed to both take place. You got to take your pick. It's one or the other. But that statement by Biden seems uncharacteristically clear and direct. But interestingly, it wasn't just Biden. This is Victoria Nuland, the Undersecretary of State, who was one of the architects behind the 2014 coup in Ukraine. Here's what she had to say in January of last year.
With regard to Nord Stream 2, we continue to have very strong and clear conversations with our German allies, and I want to be clear with you today. If Russia invades Ukraine, one way or another, Nord Stream 2 will not move forward.
And on top of all that, after the pipelines were blown up, the Polish bureaucrat Radek Sikorski tweeted out in no uncertain terms, "Thank you, USA." Well, needless to say, that tweet has since been deleted. Strangely, and of course it may be mere coincidence, but a brand new pipeline between Norway, Denmark, and Poland opened right around the time of the Nord Stream sabotage, providing Europe with an energy source completely independent of Russia. And then perhaps most curiously, shortly after the explosions, Swedish officials conducted a series of official investigations into the explosions that happened. They happened within their economic zone. And yet, after completing their investigations, Swedish officials mysteriously refused to share any of their findings, either with Russia or with Europe. The only thing they would confirm is that they did find evidence that the pipelines were intentionally sabotaged. According to the German paper Der Spiegel, Sweden justified its refusal by claiming, quote, the confidentiality level of the results of its investigation was too high to share them with other states, close quote. The mystery of Sweden's actions only deepened when just days later, Swedish officials rejected plans to set up a formal joint investigation team with Denmark and Germany to look into the cause of the explosions. According to Reuters, Sweden rejected the proposal for a joint investigation team from the judicial cooperation agency Eurojust because such a joint investigation would include legal agreements under which Sweden would have to share information from its own investigation that it deemed confidential, and its release would be a threat to their national security. Gang, when you put that all together, there's really only one culprit. Ultimately, it has to be the United States, with possible covert cooperation NATO forces. The problem here is if that's admitted, if U.S. forces or special forces associated with the U.S. carried out the attack, that finding alone could trigger World War III. I mean, think about were Russia to launch a comparable attack against our energy infrastructure, shutting down our domestic pipelines and supply chains, I mean, we'd see that as nothing short of a provocation of war. So we can be sure of two things here. The U.S. and its allies will continue to deny absolutely any involvement in the sabotaging of the Nord Stream pipelines, and that trust in Biden and in the legacy media, with all of this evidence, will continue to implode. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You'll definitely want to check out my latest video on Kari Lake making a huge announcement. You're not going to want to miss this, so make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.